in a number of different capacities. We've talked parking with you. We've talked parades with you. We've talked domestic violence with you. We've talked drug awareness with you. Now we get to talk with you as the new police chief here in Indiana Borough. Congratulations on the promotion. Now get to work.
Well, thank you very much. I can tell you that I am so honored and humbled to have been appointed chief of police. It has been as much an awesome responsibility and awesome experience. And I have worn many hats, and I think that all those things combined have led me to the personal and professional success that I've been able to have. That and a family that's extremely supportive and by all measures the best of me.
Well, it's good to have you in the position now. Are you officially on duty as chief?
I am officially on duty as chief, yes.
Very good, very good. And you inherited a pretty well-run department, didn't you?
I inherited an excellent department. I cannot speak highly enough of what Chief Sutton was able to accomplish in his tenure with the Indiana Police Department. He's a wonderful person. He is an excellent organizational leader, and it gives me great confidence to step in and move forward because we are in a positive trajectory. Indiana is a great place. It's always been, and I really feel like the opportunity for us is to move forward. There's nothing emergent, but to move forward to make the next positive steps for the community and the department.
Absolutely. Give folks a thumbnail of your law enforcement career. Where did you begin? What was the educational background, and how have you come to this point in your career?
Sure. Well, born and raised in Indiana, Pennsylvania, actually on North 4th Street where my parents still live. I graduated from Indiana High School. I graduated from Indiana University of Pennsylvania with a degree in criminology. I was fortunate, honored, blessed to follow my father's footsteps in law enforcement. My father was a police officer here in Indiana for 32 years. And so I had always known growing up that I wanted to be a police officer. I was hired with the Indiana Borough Police Department in 2001. I served in ranks of patrolman first class, field training officer, corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, and now chief of police. I've had excellent professional development training throughout. I'm a graduate of Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command, which is a premier law enforcement training facility. I'm a graduate of Penn State University's Police Executive Development Program, the Pennsylvania State Police Leadership Development Program most recently. So really that's my background. I've led parking, I've led traffic, I've run every patrol shift. I've had an opportunity to really do some very broad-based things.
And it all started with Dad going off to work and young Justin watching him go off to work and come home.
You know, the best part, it did, and the best part about that is that growing up, I never heard negative stories about policing. I never heard stories that some people may feel are glamorous or exciting about arrests. You know, the stories that I heard growing up were about the relationships that he built with people, about walking around downtown, about the positive things that you really wouldn't think of as being a novice to policing that we do that make an impact. Mm-hmm. But he made a significant impact, and that was proven in my first years on the job when really his shadow that I walked in was so large. Everywhere that I went, people praised him, and so the shoes that I had to fill were lofty from the start. So I hope to carry that torch for those that follow us, and that the best parts of policing aren't necessarily the things that you see on the news or hear on the radio, but they're the day-to-day things that make an impact in the community.
One of the interesting things to me about policing here in Indiana Borough is we see the cars, the patrol cars, and meet the officers in that way. We see them in the local coffee shops or wherever it might be. But there seems to have been in the last few years a concentration on putting the officers walking up and down the streets, getting them out and being with people and making that presence known, not as an enforcement type of thing, but just as a part of the community and working within the community.
Well, I appreciate that you say that, because the police department is your neighbor. We are your neighbors. We are your friends. We are your coworkers. We don't get very far in the society or the world today without working with each other and building positive relationships. So we are out and about. It's by design because we need to be accessible. We are the community's ambassadors, and that's really the main function of our job: quality of life issues, being accessible. So we are downtown. We are in the businesses. We are in the schools. We sit on community boards. We coach little league teams. I mean, we really strive to be everything to everyone that we possibly can be.
Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl is with us here this morning on Indiana in the Morning. We're talking about the role of Indiana Borough Police in the life of the community. And as I said earlier, we have talked with you before about some very, very serious issues. Those serious issues don't just go away. I mean, domestic violence continues to be a problem. The opioid crisis continues to be a problem. Community-university relations, while they are so much improved, they are something that always bears watching, especially when you get to the big occasions. And I know that not only are borough police involved in all of these matters, but it takes constant training and vigilance in order to remain up to date and as current as possible.
Well, the main function of my job is to equip every police officer with the tools necessary to come out and be everything that they need to be for the Indiana Borough community. So in that regard, absolutely. There are so many facets of everyday life that we can be involved in a positive way. And it all starts with the Indiana community taking care of the police officers, and they've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it, and we feel it. And to whom much is given, much is expected. And I want expectations to be high. I expect them to be high. I had set high expectations of myself and everyone at the police department. And really, I mean, we want to be great for everyone. And that's in a safety arena. Again, that's out in the community. That's walking around, accessibility. And there are so many serious issues out there. And I wish that we were a larger department. I wish that we had unlimited funding, that we could make more of an impact. Mm-hmm. But the opportunity that we have to make a positive impact is here. It's on us. And we're going to work with every community agency to make sure that we're maximizing our talents and abilities. And it's my job to keep everybody equipped to do their job safely.
Absolutely. Now, you deal, of course, with state police, of course, and with the IUP campus police. One of the interesting roles, I think, for Indiana Borough Police is getting into the schools. You mentioned getting into the schools, educational programs, getting young people to know that police officers aren't people to be feared. If we watch certain television programs, we might think of that and believe those programs, and it's so far from the truth of what a police officer's mission is.
Well, that's couldn't have been said better, because our mission is so broad. And there's so many facets of what we do. It is of vital importance for us to be out, for us to make those connections, because we're not only setting a tone and an impression for the Indiana Police Department, but everyone in a police uniform, we have an opportunity to mold a mind of someone in a positive way about the profession of policing. And that it's fascinating. There's no greater platform that I have to lead than from the platform of a police officer, because we can make those connections. And when we do it right, there's a very positive ripple effect that could transcend not only the person that we're speaking with, but their future perceptions of police officers. And that is a responsibility that in and of itself is awesome.
Think back to the time when you first joined the force right out of school, and your impression of what the job was like, even though you had so much exposure from your dad's having been a member of the police force for so long. Young Justin Schawl joins the police force all those many years ago, and now here in 2019 as the police chief. What are some of the things that you maybe thought the job was going to be when you start out, that it turns out that, there's so much more to it than that? It's a lot deeper than that.
Well, I'll tell you, I am a vastly different human being today than I was those years ago when I first started, and probably very naive back then, thinking that this could be something that I could accomplish on myself or with myself or by myself. Come to realize all these years later that policing is the greatest team effort you could find, and not only the folks that are in police uniform, but the folks that sit in the community, the support groups, the churches. It's fascinating, and probably nothing has humbled me or honored me more than my wife and my kids, and then comes law enforcement. But we're all connected, because when we do positive things outside the community, it has positive effects at work. when we do positive things at work, it resonates into the community. So I've always appreciated being accessible. I never realized probably the value of being accessible and having a police department that is accessible. So there's great value in being on a bicycle, being on foot, and really, when you come into a law enforcement career, your perception is that of what you've seen on TV, what you've heard others say, and so there isn't an accurate perception of what we deal with on a daily basis. And so I hope, I trust, I know that I'm far more well-rounded today than I ever was before, but I certainly don't know everything. Every day is an opportunity to learn, and I want to be great for everybody and for my family. And really, that's the biggest shift, is that I see the opportunity that we have, and it's not for me, it's for everyone.
We're talking with Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl this morning here on Indiana in the Morning, newly named to the position, having taken the helm now and in charge of this wonderful police department for Indiana Borough. We think about some of the more high-profile things that police officers do, investigations and arrests and things of those nature, things that are out there for people to see. There is a tremendous amount of behind-the-scenes activity that we never see, working with the district judges, the courts of common pleas, the district attorney's office, the other police departments, as I mentioned before. Those things that we might not see because it's not something that is, headline garnering types of things. There's an awful lot of work involved, isn't there?
Oh my goodness. Planning, organizing, report writing, practicing, training. To have a professional police department, and Indiana Borough has a professional police department, and every resident of Indiana Borough, every visitor, every business owner should be confident and proud of the product that is on the street today. But that comes with an inordinate amount of work. It doesn't show itself in a police statistic. It doesn't necessarily show itself in a headline. But these are things that demand to be done professionally and correctly, and these are the things that set us apart and separate us from other police entities across the nation. Would be that there's so much that we're doing outside of what you may think a typical law enforcement function is, that makes us what we are.
Yeah.
And it can't be any other way, because the requirements and the responsibilities are just too great.
That physical training that you must go through, that alone is something that people probably don't realize how much it requires. Well, answer it this way. Who's the best wrestler on the force? Is it Slavinsky?
Eric Slavinsky is a great police officer. He's a defensive tactics instructor. I'm not willing to say that anyone is better than anyone else, but I would say that we're all in good hands. Well, in my position, I hope I'm not faced with that. But everyone's in good hands. And the training that from the police academy to the physical fitness requirements to the training that we go through in defensive tactics and all of these things. Because there may be a moment, and there will be a moment, where all of these things will become important, is of vital importance, even though it's not something that you will see daily demonstrated.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the educational aspect of it all is a part of the equation as well. Thank you so much for coming in to spend some time with us, and we look forward to continuing our good work with the Indiana Borough Police Department.
Thank you so much.
He's Justin Schawl. He is the new police chief here for Indiana Borough, joining us this morning, and we appreciate his time and all of the police work that is done here in Indiana. It's just a tremendous community of law enforcement.